Hello, hello, welcome. Today we are going to be discussing episodes 1 through 5 of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I wanted to do the first couple of episodes, but I didn't have a chance to record. I went ahead and I kept on watching, and now it's all a blur. So, spoiler warning if you have not watched up to at least episode 5, because that's how far I got. And I didn't want to accidentally mislead people thinking that it was only going to include stuff from episodes 1 and 2, and then I accidentally went off on a tangent and spoiled something later on. So we're just gonna do episodes 1 through 5 and get that over with. Okay, you're here, I'm here. I have dressed for the occasion. Couldn't do the blowout, so instead, we have some sweater paws and a Stanley, and we are just going to get into our best Mormon wife era and go on with the show. So this season opens with basically a shot of Taylor. She says she's going to be taking some time off because she has to go to this retreat and get herself back into life. Like, she needs to go to this it's like a deep, intensive counseling retreat, and she needs to get back to herself, she needs to heal, she needs to be able to move past in order to really work out things with or without Dakota. So Dakota's gonna take his son for the next 2 weeks. They're going and she's gonna go away from the retreat. So the first couple of episodes don't really feature her very much. What they do feature is Layla, and she is in her assertive woman era. She has decided this season she's gonna have a little bit more of a personality, and I am feeling it. I've noticed a lot of changes in Layla, but one of the things I always have to remember is that she is so young. I always forget how young she is, how young all of these women are. So we do see her, she has her birthday. So she starts out 23, but she does quickly turn to 24. And she is going to get to the bottom of this Jesse cheating scandal. Last year's cliffhanger was Marciano telling her that he slept with Jesse and they had an affair. And so she's going to confront Jesse about it. So they're going off to this influencer event. They do a lot of influencer events. I always had the impression that influencers just kind of did their influencing thing, but there is a lot of work. Like, if you're choosing to be an influencer rather than going into an office, it's not gonna work because you gotta go to a lot of events. You can't just, be a hermit, and that sounds like my favorite part of being an influencer is not having to go into anything as work. But, that's neither here nor there. So they're going to an event. Jesse shows up. Layla runs outside to intercept her and to confront her about this whole Marciano cheating thing. They haven't talked since she spoke with Marciano directly. So she's finally going to talk to Jesse about it. Jesse is absolutely caught off guard. She admits to the first part, like she says that they kissed. She says that they had an emotional affair. She says that Jordan, her husband, knows all about it, but that she did not sleep with him. So it goes back and forth. And this starts off the storyline that's going to take up basically the first 4 episodes. And that is this affair cheating scandal. I was a little bit frustrated with this because it's one of those situations where everybody's all like, Jesse's my friend and I'm going to be there for her for whatever, but I don't know if she's telling me the truth. This is one of those situations where I think I would just take my friend at face value and not offer any judgment. She's clearly struggling. She says she's struggling in her marriage. At the end of the day, if I'm choosing to forgive her for having an emotional affair, I would expect my friend not to lie to me. But if they did, I would expect them to eventually tell me the truth. Like, especially with a cheating scandal, if you are cheating and you're trying to work through it with your husband, I could see being in a place where you are not ready to kind of admit it to yourself or on camera for that matter. And so I would get it. I would probably not press her towards it, and I definitely wouldn't want to guilt trip them. It's one of those things like you're either going to forgive them and go on with the friendship and wait till they're ready to talk about it, or you're not. So that part of it I really struggled with, all of the girls being like, "I'm gonna get down to this on my own, and I'm gonna investigate." I would feel so incredibly intruded on, like my privacy didn't matter, like my friends didn't believe me. So that I did struggle a lot with, but who knows if mom talk would survive another scandal. So, this really takes up everything. Is it Michaela and Macy, I believe, are the other 2. They are just supporting characters. They are an investigation team. They're going to contact Marciano, they're gonna confront them themselves. They're going to hire a polygraph. They are going to do so many things that is just a supporting role, but they are both preggers, very, very visibly preggers in this or in this season. And so I get that they don't necessarily want to get more involved or do any too much more heavy lifting, especially when you are just focusing on bringing a life into the world. So that's pretty much it. There's still Demi is in the background. Now it's kind of alluded to that Demi put Marciano up to the lying because he does eventually admit that he lied. We don't know why. Apparently, he thought it was a good idea, even though he does say that he's still in love with Jesse. He decided to lie, but you know. So Marciano admits to lying. Jesse and him do a polygraph. They both kind of pass, kind of not. Everybody makes excuses for them. So if they kind of did not, like Dem not Demi, she comes in later. Jesse definitely failed a couple of the questions on the polygraph test, and now is when the girls are looking for making excuses for her. So the next scandal with that ends up being that they take the polygraph. They're out in Garfield, maybe? They're out on a trip. They're out on an away trip. They do one every single time. Usually it's a couple of days. This one was very, very short compared to the ones in last season. So are they saving the budget for something else? I don't know. But they invite Marciano out to dinner with them, which I will agree was not necessary. I will agree was inappropriate, but the fallout was disproportional to what it was. So we'll put a pin in that, and now we have to rewind. When Taylor comes back, she does have some big news that they are going to be getting an opportunity as Mom Topic as a whole is going to get the opportunity to audition to be on Dancing with the Stars. The unfortunate thing is we do already know how this pans out and who ends up getting the role because that part is happening in real time. But all of a sudden, who comes sniffing around but Whitney, who had previously not only abandoned Mom Talk, but also teamed up with Demi to shade them after Demi had done so much dirt on them. And I'm going to put a pin in Demi and we'll talk about her in a little while. So Whitney starts coming around. She wants to now all of a sudden be in the picture again because she heard that Dancing with the Stars was up at play. There was talks that she wanted in order to continue filming, she wanted Oscars tickets and she wanted a scripted role. And she confirms she wanted the scripted role because a girl wants what she wants, and hey, if that's what you want, then that's what you want. I do get wanting to branch out and have a career. Because what do you do after Mom Talk? Do you go back to being just a wife, or do you open a business, or maybe she wants to become an actress? So I get that she is basically creating an exit plan for herself from Mom Talk, and I do respect her for that. But she says that the Oscars tickets was not something she asked for. So I have troubles kind of sometimes believing what Whitney says. We have to kind of take her at face value, but why would she admit to one and not the other? But I do also see how rumors can so quickly get out of hand. So it might have been that she had a conversation or something or asked somebody about Oscars tickets and it kind of snowballed through that whole game of telephone that we know happens all the time and somehow got passed on as she demanded Oscars tickets in order to agree to signing. So obviously she agreed to signing even though she may or may not have gotten Oscars tickets and may or may not have gotten access to a scripted role. But what we do know is that she got a chance to audition for Dancing with the Stars, and the end, that's what she really wanted. She comes out and says the only reason that she's here, the only reason she's interacting with Montauk again is because she wants an opportunity to audition for Dancing with the Stars. She's very, very transparent about that. So, she also shows up to Michaela's birthday party, which she was invited to, and all of the girls kind of fight with her. Jen, who was away for the first little while because we know that she had moved to, I believe, Arizona with Zach, and they were kind of having a break while she was going through postpartum depression, or no, prepartum, prenatal depression. And I 100% get that. Like, pregnancy can do a toll. With my first son, I was so depressed, so sick. Like, I don't even think I could get out of bed most days. So I 100% get that. And it isn't something that is talked about. I think now, the way social media is, it's so refreshing that women are able to just get out there and share their day-to-day struggles because nobody talks about that. People talk about how wonderful it is to have a new baby. They talk about how, how cute they are and how wonderful it is to be pregnant, but the dirty, messy bits, you just don't ever hear about until like this current day and age when it's finally okay to share this kind of information. So, I'm glad that she has a platform that's even bigger than, social media and TikTok that she can share that journey with because I didn't even know that prenatal depression was a thing, and I went through it. So I can only imagine how many other people sit there through a pregnancy and believe that it's supposed to be one of the most magical and happiest and important and precious times of their life and are upset and feel like such failures because they cannot appreciate the time because they're so depressed or so sick or whatever reason. I have 3 sons. My first 2 pregnancies were really, really difficult, and my last one was amazing. So I get it, not like, every pregnancy is different, every pregnancy comes with its own struggles and its own blessings, and I'm so glad that we're able to talk about it now. So Jen finally rejoins them, and she hears about Whitney coming back and well, she hears about Jesse, first of all. She hears about Jesse, and she's absolutely flabbergasted. She actually hears about Jesse through Zach, who heard it from Jordan, and she's absolutely flabbergasted. And then when she sees Whitney, she actually confronts Whitney because the girls all feel that she is kind of a fair weather friend. She only comes around when she wants something. She only comes around when it's convenient for her. And Jen feels this because when Jen was going through her pregnancy in the early, early stages, she confided in Whitney, and Whitney was really there for her, and Jen appreciated it. But then when there was no more for Jen be to give or to be able to vouch for her or to be able to do for her, she disappeared. And not only did she disappear, but she aligned herself with Demi, who, if we remember from season 2, was a little horrible to Jen, absolutely horrible to her. So Jen feels very betrayed by that and really wants an answer from Whitney. And Whitney is sitting there gaslighting her to her face, acting like Demi didn't do anything when we all saw video of how horribly Demi was treating Jen, amongst other people. How horribly Demi was treating Whitney. But Whitney's like, "Oh, we can all get past that." She is just choosing what's right for her in the moment, and whether that is ethically right overall, or if it is just getting her to the next stage, the next level is a totally different thing. So, oh, I didn't talk about Layla's storyline. So, Layla is having kind of an instigator storyline, and I don't mean instigator in a bad way. She is just kind of the precipitating factor for a whole bunch of other storylines. So I get why she is being a little bit more assertive this season because I think that she is trying to set herself up to have the personality and the presence to carry her own storyline next season. Or maybe she gets one this season. But at her birthday party, she invites a guy named Chase, who is an ex of hers, apparently. and that has a podcast. And his entire podcast, from what we are shown, because I'm not searching this guy's podcast up on my own to verify, but a good portion of his podcast is just writing or reading out or discussing rumors and talking shit about the Mormon wives or mom talk. So he apologizes to Layla off screen. And so she invites him to her birthday party because he is now dating her friend. And so he's invited to the birthday party, but all of Mom Talk hates him because he's been spreading rumors and talking bad about them. So they don't forgive him. He hasn't apologized to them. And she is fighting with them because she was trying to facilitate a space for him to apologize to the rest of Mom Talk. And Mom Talk says, like, "We don't want this. We don't invite this. We don't agree to this." They told her this while they were shopping, and she still invited him anyways, and then she took his side, which I do not agree with. I think that if you are going to be loyal to your friends and your friends are not comfortable and not ready to accept an apology, which you never told them in the first place that he was there to give, then you have to go with that. Like, if your friends aren't ready to accept one, if your friends don't want to talk to him, then why are you inviting him and making so many people uncomfortable? What does he add? How does he add it? Where do your loyalties lie? On the other hand, I do think that they kind of overreacted to a certain extent. If you are in the public eye, you are going to invite some level of criticism. But again, they were not told that he was there to apologize. And they specifically said they did not want him there and that they would leave if he did come. So I really think that Layla could have done a better job at explaining what was going on and listening to them and communicating better on what her plans were, rather than just platforming this guy that makes his career off of embarrassing them publicly. So, she also has a crush on his brother, which I think that Layla's picker is very broken. She's got a broken picker. She needs to stop. Like, there needs to be an intervention. You know what we need to have? We need to have Layla on, like, Millionaire Matchmaker, because she cannot pick a guy for herself. We need somebody to set her up with people and that are good and appropriate and pre-screened and not the brother of her ex. And that is the next crossover show we need to see. We don't need to see any more Marciano. We need to see Layla on Millionaire Matchmaker. Let me know if you agree. She has a horrible picker. It's broken. Like, we need to realign it or something. Layla's storyline also includes her going to an ethnic hairdresser, which I think is a wonderful idea. I don't think that she should feel bad about talking to Jesse about it. I think that Jesse definitely had a lot on her plate, but I can also see Layla's point of view. I think that it's probably a lot more complicated than just the shame of kind of cheating on your friend who's your hairdresser. For me, I know I'm also mixed. It's like your hair is often a source of shame. And to explain this to somebody who does not have ethnic hair is nearly impossible. But there's so many times that your hair, the hairstyle, makes you an other because you don't have the conforming hair. You can't just go swimming and then go out and, enjoy a pool party. Like, there's so many things that your hair make more complicated that nobody else will understand unless you have that hair type, that it's so complicated. Like, I love my curls, but I would be lying if I didn't say that, you know, having curly hair some days makes me not want to film, right? Like, I can't film today because my hair doesn't look right or one of my curls is not behaving. And I know that lots of people have bad hair days, but when you have a different type of hair, when you are already so conscious and made to feel like an other. And it's sometimes something as simple as, showing up with box braids. And now every single conversation you have is about how you have box braids, or showing up with your curls. And now every single conversation is showing up with your curls, or going out in public and somebody being like, "Can I touch your hair? It's so cool." It is difficult. And so going to somebody, even if they're a friend of yours, even if they're your best friend, who you have entrusted to touch your hair, and now explaining to them that you wanna go see an ethnic hairstylist, it's just I can 100% get that it's not a conversation she wants to have, and I can 100% get that there's a sense of shame involved in it that is she should not have. I'm not saying that this is okay. I'm saying that it's messed up that the society has imposed this on so many of us, that I get why she just went and did it. And I really hope that being able to go and see an ethnic hairstylist can help her to better accept or feel a little bit more comfortable with that side of her. And as again, as somebody who was who is biracial and was raised not only biracially, but was raised in a community that I never saw myself in anyone else. I was always the only one of my kind at school. I was not only the only, like a lot of times, the only Black person in my school, but also the only mixed person in my school. And so that's a really weird road to walk. So I get that. I also get how stressful it can be on your hair to do those blowouts. That is wild. But yeah, I used to have crazy long hair. Actually, story time about I think that will give a little bit more insight as to why I feel especially close to Layla with this whole hair thing, is that going to salons, I used to have, like, more of a honey brown colored hair. I used to do my hair like that all the time. I loved, loved, loved dyeing my hair. I've had, like, every color hair. And I would go even though I went to the same hairdresser all the time, was not an ethnic hairdresser, let me start with that. Not an ethnic hairdresser, but I would go to these salons, even these, like, high prestigious salons, because I had an excellent hairdresser. I would go and I would go be sent to the wash girl, to, like, the hair washing station, and I would show up with my blowout, and I would sit there, and I would look at this girl every single time. Not the same girl, different whoever was doing the hair washing, this person. And I would warn them, like, "Listen, I have curly hair." And they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I deal with curly hair all the time." Like, "No, you do not understand. It's going to be really curly. Like, I'm just warning you now." And if I can tell you how many times they would wet my hair and immediately be like, "Oh, your hair's curly." And I'd be like, "I told you it was curly. That's something I told you before you even turned the water on." Like, "No, but it's, like, really curly." And the number of times I would end up with mats from them trying to shampoo it wrong, and the number of times I was completely embarrassed by somebody trying to round brush my hair because, sometimes your stylist might have, like, I know for me, especially when I was, like, processing or something like that, she would sometimes schedule, like, men's haircuts, quick, like, 5-10 minute haircut. I'm processing for 45 minutes, so she's, not sitting there talking to me. And she would be like, "Okay, can you get started on the round brush? I'll be right back. I just have to go and walk this person." And the amount of round brushes that would get stuck in my hair because the person did not understand how to do it was so embarrassing. And there's times I would never go back to that salon because it was so embarrassing. Like, how can you literally get a round brush? I know how they could do it because they didn't know what they were doing or they misunderstood my hair type. So I get it. I do 100% get Layla's new exploration into ethnic hair salons, and I wish her all the best on her hair journey. My hair used to be super, super long. I actually did like a big chop over the summer, and it was well needed. Okay, now that I've completely diverted into the realm of personal stories, somehow inserting my own personal opinion, a personal story in here, let's get back to the show. So that is Layla's storyline right now. She's really working on being assertive, and I love that for her. There was a couple of times where I thought it kind of bordered on disrespectful and rude. 2 things would be when she invited Chase and, like, fought with her friends over it rather than just being like, "I'm sorry, I hear you guys. You guys are important to me, but I don't wanna be rude until ask him to leave." Like, I think that that would've been it. Can we just not interact and kind of fall on the sword that way? And also, there ends up being a barbecue where they're talking to Jordan, and there is a moment where there's a bit of an argument. We'll get into that next. And Layla and Jen, like, grab a bag of chips or grab a bowl of chips, and they're sitting there, like, very animated, like, doing the whole eating popcorn thing. I thought that was a little bit rude and distasteful, but I am also proud of her for finally trying to, like, step into her own, and she's very young, so I'm going to try and give her a little bit of grace there. Let's see. Who did we go through everybody? Can we go up to current? I think we did everybody. Okay. So, let's go through Jordan, and then we'll talk about Demi. Jordan is Jesse's husband, and as expected, he is struggling with the affair. Jesse did admit, even at the time before cameras caught up and the storyline caught up, that she had kissed Marciano twice and they had an emotional affair over a couple of weeks or a few weeks. Her argument is that their relationship was already rocky. They had been struggling for years and that Jordan was emotionally abusive. We do get to see that when she comes home from the trip where she was doing the lie detector test. After the lie detector test, they all invited Marciano out for a group dinner. I don't think that he needed to be there, but for the show, it adds a storyline, it adds some spontaneity, so I get why they invited him. They invited him for the show. I don't think that if the cameras weren't there, they would have bothered inviting him because they could have done it by email. And, of course, Jordan is really upset with this, even though they are technically separated. And I think that if they stopped and took a step back, they would be upset with it. If he had done the same thing, if he had a affair and then he had dinner with the person he had had an affair with, I think that they would definitely be crucifying him. But again, it's for the show. I don't think that they did it. If they didn't have a show, I don't think that they would have even had the lie detector test. Like, this is not something that you would do in real life. So, I think he also has to step back and realize that it's their job and a storyline. But when she got home, he absolutely ripped into her. I get that it's probably editing, but that conversation was emotionally abusive. And I feel horrible for her because she doesn't deserve that. And especially the part I did feel like in the beginning he was just venting his frustrations, but as he went on, he started blaming her for how he was treating her, and that's when I was like, "Oh, no. This is bad. This is really bad." And I hope that all of the people from Mom Talk and Dad Talk get to see that scene because, wow, was that an eye opener. So, yeah, he has proven that he is, in fact, emotionally abusive to her. I don't believe that this was just brought on by the affair. It might have exasperated it. It obviously initiated that argument. But the way he was so comfortable berating her and blaming her for him berating her in front of the cameras tells me that worse happens behind the scenes. And he has decided that since nobody else is on his side, he's going to invite all of Mom Talk and Dad Talk together and they are going to discuss how everybody should be on his side and not on Jesse's side, which I think is also very emotionally abusive. She has her support system. I don't necessarily think that, especially seeing as how they know all of the facts, I don't think that you necessarily need to have your wife's friends on your side. Your wife's friends are your wife's friends. That's her support system. You have your own support system. It's not important that you have her friends bag on her as well, especially when they've already admitted that what she did was wrong. So I don't agree with that. And I found that to be very unnerving that he needed to have this barbecue to tell everybody that basically Jessie has been a bad girl, and as a group, we're all going to punish her. I thought that that was kind of disgusting. But Layla grabbing the bowl of chips and doing the whole popcorn eating meme was a little bit distasteful in the midst of it. Taylor is being very, very diplomatic in it, and I think that it's because it really hits close to home. She just finished having her own cheating scandal the season before, and so I think it's fresh for her, and I do agree with her. Like, I think she's a little bit harsh, but I do agree with her with how it was inappropriate, but it was obviously for work. Like, that's I don't think that it would have happened if there was no cameras. Okay, on to let's talk about Michaela first as well before we go into Demi. So, on to Michaela, she's having her own side story. She was strong and vulnerable enough to admit that her and her husband have been having problems with intimacy because she had been a victim of SA as a child. And we get to see a little bit of her going to therapy. And it was a young child. I think she said she was like 8 years old. And I just want her to get all of the love and support that she can possibly handle because that is absolutely horrific, and I think that her sharing her story is so strong and so powerful, and that's all I have to say about that. Michaela gets back into mom talk, and that's her entire storyline, and then there's Demi, who I find it wild. I have been watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives since the 1st season, and I have to admit, in the 1st season, I loved Demi. She was hilarious, she was so relatable, and now I feel like I have to go back to the 1st season and rewatch it to see if she had any of these problematic tendencies, or if this is something that's new, because I don't remember her being so problematic. But 2nd season, she turned heel, and then this season, oh my gosh, is she acting out. We've already seen she's in the opening credits, and we've already seen clips of her coming later, so we do know that she is, in fact, part of the season. She did end up signing, but everything that we see about her in these first handful of episodes is just absolutely horrid and ugly and disgusting. I don't mean ugly as in, like, how she looks. All of these women are beautiful, but just the way she behaves and the way she bullies people. We see her bullying Layla over and over and over again. And so they get together and they decide that they will reappoint Taylor, the leader of Mom Talk, which she kind of always has been. And Taylor is going to confront both Whitney and Demi separately about what they're doing, what their plans are, and basically just settle it once and for all whether they're in mom talk or not. Hint, right now they're not. So when she confronts Whitney, Whitney says that basically she plans to make her own mom talk and then walks out when they kind of laugh at her. And Demi, it still waits to be seen. The one of the final scenes is that we do get is that they run into her at an influencer event, and there is a big fight and argument right in the middle of the event, and I just think that it is so unfortunate that she can't even conduct herself with any restraint in public. It's one of those things, like, you so often hear hurt people, and I understand that she's going through some struggles, but I wish that we could leave the whole mean girl thing back in high school. So, that's the first 5 episodes. That is my takeaway. Let me know yours. How are you feeling about this season? I will see you in the next one, and bye for now.